a party in the chat today. You guys look like you're having a great time already. Oh my goodness, Ved Save, you guessed it. So did, Juan, no thumb holes. It's too hot for thumb holes. But it's so nice to see everybody. Happy birthday, Chamberlain. Glad to see the chat popping. If you're not a member, but you're still joining us watching the stream, thank you. Welcome. I see you. And we have, what a stream. What a stream. What a lineup of stories. And it's so juicy and so much good gossip. We're going to have a great time. I've got tons of visuals. Look at Michael gifting 20 memberships. The generosity is incredible. Again, I love it when you guys gift memberships because you support the channel and you invite a bunch of other people to the conversation. For those of you who are wondering, how do I get a membership? YouTube picks them at random, but they do favor people who are most engaged with the channel. So if you're a subscriber, if you've been a member in the past, if you watch a lot of the videos and like them and put comments, it'll help. So Jack, your Taylor Swift tickets. Yeah, we're going to be talking about celebrity generosity today. Taylor Swift is also a very generous individual, like many of you, and gifted $55 million worth of bonuses to her entire crew behind the scenes on her current tour. And that's incredible. You know, it's great that she shares the wealth. She's worth $740 million. I think the only female singer who's worth more than $1 billion is Rihanna. And that's not only thanks to her music, but also her business endeavors with like Fenty and stuff like that. All right. You're in Disneyland? Chico, that's awesome. That's so great. I'm glad Chico is watching us online for Pirates of the Caribbean. I love it. Hello to anybody around you. I hope you have headphones in. I know there's some question as to the etiquette of listening to things live. All right, everybody. So the way streams work, of course, as you know if you watch regularly, but if you don't, welcome. Please keep your comments on the subject at hand. And I won't necessarily be able to answer your question or acknowledge your comment, even if it's a super chat, if you put it out before I open up each story to questions. And then, of course, at the end of every stream, there's 10 minutes of Ask Me Anything. So if you want to ask me something or you want to talk about something that's got nothing to do with what the stories of today are, don't worry about it. At the end of the stream, you'll have your opportunity. All right, let's get going. Oh, yeah, let's go. Let's go. All right, story number 1. Boop. I got to fix how this is on. Well, not today. We're already live. All right. Can I fix it? It's bothering me. Yeah, I can fix it a little bit. There we go. I don't want to cover up Gal Gadot. She might still be in this thing. All right. There we go. All right. So, boop. Wonder Woman. Headline came out today saying that Gal Gadot, she's doing advertising and press. Although, I don't know how she can be because she's supposed to be on strike. So maybe these were pre-recorded, right? I'm like, hey, Gal Gadot, wait a minute. What's going on here? Maybe, so I guess this is not like, this is something from maybe a little bit like before the strike, which was only a few weeks ago. So she's doing press for Heart of Stone, which I totally forgot comes out on Netflix on, I think, tomorrow. Oh, Tom, thanks for gifting a membership. So you're like, what? So of course the question is, are you sad that you're no longer Wonder Woman? And she was like, haha, I am still Wonder Woman. In fact, James Gunn and Peter Safran told me that we would be developing Wonder Woman 3 together. And the entire internet went into a tizzy. Some people happy, some people very upset. And I can understand both emotions. And I'll talk about what side I fall under in a moment. But anyway, some people were like, isn't James Gunn going to come in here and clarify? Well, I think that, James Gunn, by the way, said he wasn't going to do that anymore because he really would paint himself into a corner quite often. And I'm glad he's not doing it anymore. I think he was totally killing discussion about DC. I also think that he's probably not sure what he's going to do. And so I'm sure this is very helpful to him to see what the internet reaction is like. Especially because he's such an internet plugged in person. Like he really pays attention to social media. So I'm sure he's looking through everybody's comments. He didn't take my advice, Juan. He did. It was ridiculous what he was doing. And so I'm glad he stopped doing it because, again, it was dumb. All right, so let's go into, I have some questions here for us to go over. You're going to love this. All right, it's kind of like chapter times for a live stream. Oh, I love this idea. So I put together some questions, and you'll see what point we're at when I have the arrow. There's the arrow that tells us where we are. All right? So is this actually happening? Well, I checked with my sources this morning because just like the rest of you, I thought this was ridiculous. And my sources surprised me saying that, it was actually a possibility, that this is indeed what James Gunn and Peter Safran told Gal Gadot. She's telling the truth, It's very different than the conversation with Ben Affleck, where apparently Ben Affleck said, I'm not directing, and James Gunn tried to pass off the idea that he would. So I'm sure James Gunn is like, stop talking about what we talk about in meetings. But I will tell you that she doesn't have a deal. There's no deal for her to return. This is a promise that was made by James Gunn and Peter Safran. And as we've seen, they have no problem saying the winds have changed and we no longer have a deal. But yes, Gal Gadot has been promised that they're going to develop a Wonder Woman 3 together. And that, the easy way out of that one, by the way, is to say we worked on it and we just couldn't come together with something that we were all happy with. So that's always a way that you could go with that. So I also feel, this is important for her to save face. She doesn't want to be promoting Heart of Stone and saying, thank God I'm employed because Wonder Woman fell through. So that helps her there, right? And again, as I said, this is an opportunity for DC Studios to gauge internet reaction. It was great that it's been trending all day. That's promising. But I do think that a lot of it is kind of somewhat negative. All right, so let's talk about the next section, all right? So is this a good idea? And the subcategory I first have is it's the softest of reboots. So James Gunn was like, I'm doing a soft reboot. This is like a whisper, a feather of a reboot, because it's just getting ridiculous. Oh, I have other visuals here. Hold on, let me bring them up. All right, so there are our former casts when they ended. Right before James Gunn and Peter Safran took over, you had this Justice League and you had this Suicide Squad. And so far, all we really have confirmed are the Superman legacy actors, who Gal Gadot did comment on. And she said, they seem like swell people to me. And you're like, what is happening? So I think that, this is personally, I feel it's a horrible idea. Let's do, and Creature Commandos, Mika, but that's about it. Let's do a poll while we're discussing. Is keeping Gal Gadot a good idea? Heck yeah. Hell no. And then I'm not sure. The non-committal option. The Oppenheimer option. I saw someone talk about Oppenheimer and they were like, Oppenheimer just refused to, did the poll not go in? Can you see the poll? There it is. Come on, YouTube. But yeah, so I thought that was hilarious. So you can vote there. So I think that it's just absurd. It's not clear as to whether or not this is a new universe, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason as to who they're keeping, right? Like, why would you get rid of Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, but keep Gal Gadot? Particularly since she's coming off of Wonder Woman 1984, which I think a lot of people weren't too happy about. So I think that it's a very, very strange idea. I'll watch. She will never just be a producer, because this is the only thing holding up her career. Maybe she could play Hippolyta. Maybe she could become Wonder Woman's mother. Charlize Theron told a funny story about that when she said they approached her for Wonder Woman. And she was like, I don't know, guys. You think I'd make a good Wonder Woman? And they said, oh, sorry, Miss Theron. We actually want you to be Wonder Woman's mom. And Charlize Theron was pretty insulted. Thanks for gifting some memberships, Bumblebee. And this was back when they were doing the first Wonder Woman movie. So, this was like a couple of years ago. And I think, Charlize Theron's in great shape today. So I think that's crazy. So anyway, maybe Gal Gadot could be really surprised and James Gunn goes, well, funny thing, Gal, how'd you like to be Hippolyta? I think that would be really embarrassing. So anyway, let's see how she does. That's another thing. I just thought of this. I was like, let's see how she does in Snow White. But Snow White is going to be such a mega bomb for Disney and be such a lightning rod for horrible discussions. And it's so poorly put together that I don't know who could defend it. And then you're going to be like, Gal Gadot is the face of that? I mean, maybe she's the only good thing in it. Let's see. Maybe. But yeah, yikes. So I just think it's very unclear as to who's being kept and why. And it starts to seem unfair. I said, Elliot Bullock, I agree. I said they should do a full reboot. And I said from day one of the Gunverse that a soft reboot would mean this thing could never stand on firm ground. And it's just getting worse. Like, this is the squishiest ground I've ever seen. They're freaking building on Jell-O at this point, in my opinion. So let's move the arrow to the next talking point. Then I think that this is really partially so that James Gunn can protect his friends. And if you keep Gal Gadot, who is not his friend, it makes it seem less like he's just keeping the people he has a relationship with. And that maybe there's some rhyme or reason to what he's doing. Like, that's like, I think maybe that's part of the reason for doing this. Being like, I didn't even know Gal Gadot and I kept her, so clearly I like everybody. So you're like, So I think that's one issue. Then the next thing is casting of Wonder Woman, okay? I think that James Gunn might be a little bit nervous, that it would be very, very hard for him to cast anybody as good as Gal Gadot in the role. I think to a large degree, she does embody Wonder Woman. I think if no one had ever seen Wonder Woman 1984, people would feel that it was vital that she stayed on in the role. I think to many of us, before we saw Wonder Woman 1984, she was Wonder Woman. It was like almost like she was born to play the role, as much as like Harrison Ford was Indiana Jones. Although with bad movies, he too kind of messed that up. So that's an interesting scenario. Some also people pointed out that Gal Gadot is considerably older than David Corenswet. However, don't forget that they're going with an older Batman as well, because he's going to have Damian Wayne as his son as Robin. So maybe you have a situation where Superman's just much younger than both Batman and Wonder Woman. That seems a little weird to me. But, let's see what they decide to do. And then, director. I think that some people today were saying maybe the success of Barbie might be a factor to keeping Wonder Woman. Although, of course, this discussion would have had to take place before the writer's strike started. The actor's strike, because Gal Gadot otherwise couldn't have done the interview. And so, Mika, you keep shouting Alan Heinberg. We'll talk about writers in a minute. That's a good idea. But director, I think, you could think maybe Greta Gerwig, but I don't know how good she is at action. Although Patty Jenkins, the reason the action was so good in the first Wonder Woman movie, was because they had people helping out Patty Jenkins. And so somebody could help out Greta Gerwig conceivably. But speaking of Patty Jenkins, I think Greta Gerwig is a better choice for the Supergirl legacy movie, quite frankly. I wouldn't put her on Wonder Woman, to be honest with you. Also, I don't want Wonder Woman to be too message heavy. The Woman of Tomorrow, the Supergirl story is already message heavy. Greta Gerwig is a very politically motivated storyteller. And I don't want that in Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is supposed to, it should be more about just telling a really good story and getting the action right. I think to me that is the most important. And then also, are they keeping Chris Pine as Steve Trevor? Although they messed that up with Wonder Woman 1984 too. All right, so anyway, this is incredibly embarrassing for Patty Jenkins. If Gal Gadot gets to stay, that means truly Patty Jenkins was fired for sucking. That's just really, really bad. Also, I think James Gunn wants more control. And I think Patty Jenkins also wants a lot of control. And I don't think she fits well in being, part of James Gunn. I think the DC directors need to be like James Gunn's entourage, is probably the way he envisions it. And I don't see that happening with Patty Jenkins. And also, Patty Jenkins is, Elle Weathers, I would agree. I think Patty Jenkins' career is over. I think Cleopatra will never happen. She lost her Star Wars movie. I think Patty Jenkins, the only thing she could potentially do at this point is go back to independent filmmaking. But I don't see it happening. Who I was thinking who I would use? I would like Gina Prince Bythewood, who directed The Woman King. Now, I know The Woman King ended up being very controversial, but that was the script's problem. Gina Prince Bythewood did a wonderful job directing a tribe of women, a group of women warriors, and she did it extremely well. It was messagey but not heavy-handed, and the action sequences, they had a couple of battles in that movie that were phenomenal. And then also, if you bring in a director like Gina Prince Bythewood, I would love to focus on one or both characters of color in the Amazons. I've always felt it was horrible that Philippus never really got her chance to shine, General Philippus. And then, of course, Nubia has gotten a lot more attention in the comics recently as well. You know, Wonder Woman has always been about the island of the Amazons. And I think that Barbie did a great job of showcasing multiple Barbies. You know, there was the main Barbie, Margot Robbie, but there were a lot of other Barbies that I think made a strong impression. So why is that the case with the Amazons, right? And I feel like who could play one of these Amazons? So maybe that's an argument for using Greta Gerwig. But you can use Greta Gerwig as the template, quite frankly. But then also, Lashana Lynch, baby. She was amazing in The Woman King, although I hear Marvel's not done with her quite yet, Lashana Lynch. You know, she played Maria Rambeau in the Captain Marvel. But Lashana Lynch as Philippus or Nubia? Oh my God. Give it to me now. Bartleby the Scrivener says Gadot has always been perfect in the role. Of all the original DCU cast, she is the only one that was perfect. I would have said that was true, Bartleby, before I saw Wonder Woman 1984. And I'm glad you like my ideas, Al Weathers, but I feel like Wonder Woman 1984 really hurt everybody associated with the film. I've always defended Gal Gadot prior to that movie, and I was like, she's great. And then I saw Wonder Woman 1984, and I felt there were parts of the film where I'm like, her acting is indefensible. And then she did some other things that were not great, you know, with that Imagine song during the pandemic. I feel it's problematic. No, Pedro Pascal wasn't hurt by that, obviously, Mika. You know, I mean, he recovered. And I loved him in that movie. I thought he was one of the best parts of it. But I mean, I think, you know, he wasn't a problematic part of it, and he wasn't famous enough at the time to really be strongly associated with it. I bet you a lot of people wouldn't even mentally think of him being in that movie unless you pointed it out to them. So that's my thoughts on this. Let's open this section of this live stream open it up to questions before we move on to the next story. So this isn't the open Q&A. You got to ask me just about this kind of a story. This story. Future movie actor says, I agree, Grace, that they should have gone with a hard reboot to be able to clean the slate and start over. I'm ambivalent about Gal Gadot coming back. If they course correct, it should call back 2017. Yeah, I saw another scooper, reporting that they would keep some aspects and change some other, and the only real continuity would be that Gal Gadot was still Wonder Woman. But I think that makes it even more confusing. She's like still Wonder Woman, but there's like, what, a new Hippolyta and a new Philippus and a new Nubia? And you're just like, what's happening here? All right, let me end the poll. Hold on. 44% say, hell no, but 28% say, heck yeah, and 27% say they're not sure. Almost 50% are against it, though, vehemently. I just think it's a bad idea. I think, you know, we always talk about how DC, unfortunately, fractures its audience. And this is just another way for them to keep fracturing their audience. And I just don't understand that. Yes, Josh, as I said, I felt that Patty Jenkins could do indie movies to maybe build her career back up again. Ben 10 says, what about Nia DaCosta? If she has full artistic freedom, could work. I don't know. Nia DaCosta at this point, people didn't like Candyman, even though it was visually very interesting. And then I think the Marvels looks really weak, so I would be nervous at this point. I'd be like, let somebody else test her out before I brought her on. I feel that Gina Prince Bythewood delivered a perfect film, in my opinion, with the Woman King. So I think she's ready to go. Let's see here. Cesar Coronado says, I don't care anymore. I think a lot of people feel that way. And I agree with the Charles Merritt. I want a warrior Wonder Woman film. For Wonder Woman 1984, when they took away her sword, I thought that was one of the dumbest things they ever did. Everybody wants a warrior Wonder Woman. They want the sword. They want the battle, the fighting. That's what's really cool about the character. This kumbaya stuff is a bunch of BS. Brody Rule says, although I'm a real anti-kumbaya person in general. So, I mean, talk about dividing audiences. Wonder Woman has always struggled with that. I remember years ago talking to an editor at DC, and they said that they acknowledged that was a real problem with the character of Wonder Woman because the audience, her fandom itself was divided as to what they were looking for out of the character. Brody Rule says, I mean, you know, they always say like Superman is the fireman, Batman is the policeman, and then I've seen some people say Wonder Woman is the teacher, but I've always preferred Wonder Woman being the military. You know, like Batman and Superman are more local level support, and you call Wonder Woman in when you want like a shock and awe. Because also I like the depiction of Wonder Woman of being like real, you know, like let's just bottom line it. You know, I don't want to talk it to death. Let's just fix this and get down to brass tacks. So Brody Rule says, do you think Miller is sticking around? Nope. Ezra Miller, I think, is 1,000% done because The Flash did so poorly. Let's see here. Doop, 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 doop. Neil Finity says, honestly, I've lost all hope for Gunn's DCU. It seems pretty bad. I mean, this Superman Legacy movie would have to look real good, I think, to dig him out of the hole. I mean, why? That's what's so weird. You're like, James Gunn, why are you still digging? I mean, you were supposed to be filling this hole in with dirt, man. Jordan Saylor says, I don't believe we will see Wonder Woman 3. It's all for Gal to save face. I don't know. I mean, I think it becomes more embarrassing if she says, oh, yeah, it's happening. Like, what is she trying to do? Dwayne Johnson herself? Where he was like, oh, yeah, I'm still going to build the DCU. And I remember I said he was driving a fake toy car and pretending and telling us he was really in charge. And we were like, we don't even know what to say. Shortly after that, he let go. Some of you felt that he saw that stream. And I felt bad about the comment about him driving a fake car. I was like, oh, no, was he watching that? That was very aggressive of me. But if it worked, it worked. Caesar Augusto says, I think she was being flat at the role and Cheetah was destroyed. Yeah, Cheetah did not work out. Mr. Magic says, do you think the problems with Wonder Woman 3 were Patty, and you mean Wonder Woman 1984? I think Patty was a problem, and I think just on her own. I know a lot of people didn't like Patty Jenkins, didn't like working with her. And then for some reason, she aligned herself with Jeff Johns and wouldn't unalign herself even when everybody started talking about how horrible he was. People were like, he's a toxic monster. And she was like, he's still my bestie. And we were all like, have a good time together. Damon Terrell says, can Gunn portray Wonder Woman better than Harley? I don't think he should be anywhere. I don't know. I was going to say I don't think he should be anywhere near Wonder Woman. I don't know. Would he make a lot? I don't know. I still have some issues about his taste, particularly when it comes to women. Juan says it's pretty dumb. They should just send all the movies they already filmed to Max and start the reboot. Yeah, I agree. You know, I think it's just really frustrating. Dre Film says, I feel like James Gunn wanted to make a Superman movie because that's the only thing out of this lineup he's changed is Superman. Well, Dre Films, I've always felt that he really sees himself and doesn't understand why he's not at the same level of Zack Snyder. And he, if you'll note, is taking the exact same path as Zack Snyder. The exact same path that Zack Snyder took when he started with the DC movies. I mean, they both even have spiky hair. You know, I said a long time ago when James Gunn took the gig that he was like single white femaling Zack Snyder. And that's why I think Zack Snyder will never be in James Gunn's DC space because there can only be one. And so if you're trying to be the new Zack Snyder, you can't have the old ones, the OG ones standing next to you. It totally defeats the purpose. Because I think almost anyone on the face of the earth would say that James Gunn was better suited for pretty much any character but Superman. So it's very odd that he chose that. Paul Brunel says, other directors have made bad movies and recovered. How come Patty Jenkins wasn't able to? Well, Paul, that's a good question. You know, maybe it's partially about being a woman. You know, I mean, you can never say that's not something of a factor. But I also think, you know, a lot of times when outsiders join groups, they don't understand the importance of being a part of the group. So a lot of times, if you really get along with everybody and everyone thinks you're swell, you can get more work because they don't want to fire their pal. So if they go to lunch with you all the time and play golf and hang out and do fun stuff and they're friends with your family and your family's friends with them, it's harder for them to fire you. But if you're the kind of talent that like always keeps yourself apart and, you know, you're making enemies and you're talking, you know, Patty Jenkins was really aggressive when Wonder Woman 1984 came out. Remember that? She was like, it's all me. I have full creative control over this because I didn't like the people who I was working with before, even though my movie was successful. And that was an odd thing to do. So you create a situation, and I hope everybody remembers this. And that was what's interesting about Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer made no effort to be friends with his own community. So of course they ended up ostracizing him. This is important stuff to remember. And it's really not a healthy thing to do, to look at these situations and go, the system sucks. Because here's the thing, the system ain't gonna change. Not meaningfully, not any time that you're gonna see it. So you always have to, play the game, play the politics of the game. That's not to say you can't, look at Greta Gerwig. That's not to say that you can't still create change and you still can't be, you still can't advocate for certain things. But, remember that age-old saying, if you get more flies with honey than vinegar. And I'm surprised how many people forget that, particularly in the social media age, because vinegar gets more clicks. So just remember whether you're on social media or if you're in real life. That's really important. Aided Buffalo says, what about Leslie Jones for Wonder Woman? Obviously, that's not a good choice, Aided Buffalo. Let's see here. Oh, B-Weeb, Wonder Woman being the god. But that doesn't really work with the metaphor of policemen and firemen, Writer Boy says, watching you with my family, Selena and Jacob, about to head for lunch. We'll be back later. All right, have a great lunch. That's a funny thing to put in there. Giselle says, aside from 84, Gal is the standard for Wonder Woman. Third time's the charm, optimism. People are using the IDF acting against her aggressively. So sad to see. Well, I don't know, Giselle. I'm sure she appreciates your support, but she was that bad in Wonder Woman 1984, to be honest with you. Lucas says, I think the perfect balance between Warrior and Kumbaya is Adam Eve from Invincible. That's a good point. Boy, were those action sequences good. Thank you, Zay. I appreciate the vibes you sent. And then Siderius says, yes to Big Barda, Ice and Fire from Justice League International. We want Big Barda. Let Wonder Woman rest and recover for many years. I'm glad you like Big Barda so much, but Wonder Woman's a really big character. They're not going to bench her for that long. Jesse the Good Witch says, if they're going to go this route, they should have done Crisis on Infinite Earths, include all DC shows and movies, and streamline it at the end. That's too complicated. They should have taken a 4-year break, 3-year break, and then just come back. It's ridiculous. Nilfinity says, Wonder Woman is the living embodiment of speak softly and carry a big stick. She is a warrior, but she's also a princess. I love that. Nilfinity, that is a great description of Wonder Woman. Remember who snapped Maxwell Lord's neck? I was so upset when they gave the neck snapping to Henry Cavill's Superman, when Wonder Woman had just done it in the comics. And the whole point was that Superman wouldn't do it, but only Wonder Woman was like, there's no other way to shut this off. And it was a really amazing moment. Nova Star says, I think they should keep Gal Gadot, Henry Cavill, Jason Momoa, reboot everything else. No, I don't agree. Let's do that as a poll, and then we'll move on to the next story after a few minutes for you to vote. DC, what kind of reboot? Then we'll do hard reboot. I'm okay with soft reboot. And then a third option is, I trust James Gunn's vision. There are some people out there who like that. So the question is, how many? Deandra, combat medic. That's also an interesting metaphor. That reminds me of that movie Hacksaw Ridge with Andrew Garfield that Mel Gibson directed. That's pretty good. I like that too. Way Harris says, is this a handshake to Gal Gadot for all of her cameos that she has been a part of? And an FU to Henry Cavill? Well, Henry Cavill was willing to do the cameos. Remember, I told you people don't like Henry Cavill, and that's another issue. People don't want to work with him. He's very difficult to work with. Talk about more flies with honey than vinegar. Do flies even like honey? All right, so anyway, future movie actor. Even without seeing Barbie, I know Greta Gerwig walks the line way better when it comes to being both innovative and accessible. I would agree. That's a good point, though, future movie actor. Even with the way she handled the very strong messaging in Barbie, it's not aggressive. It's not exclusionary. It's just like, hey, we're having a great time over here, and if you want to join us, that's awesome, and you're welcome to join us. It does not exclude anybody, which I've always really liked. Al Watch says, Patty should come back and oversee the movie. No, I'm sorry. I think Patty Jenkins lost that right. Xtina says, Patty Jenkins made one of the best movies of all time with Monster. Wonder Woman was amazing. Do you think she can strike lightning again? No, I do not. I heard she was helped so extensively on the Wonder Woman movie from Zack Snyder's team. I wish that she had acknowledged that more. All right, so hold on. Oh, let's see here. Dane O'Leary, they should have adapted everything that Greg Rucka did with Cheetah. They should just read the recent run that Greg Rucka did with the Rebirth on Wonder Woman and just adapt that. It was one of the best Wonder Woman runs I've ever seen, if not the best. I'm not a huge fan of the George Perez stuff. I know, blasphemous! But that's just how I feel. I don't like it very much, but I don't like Silver Age comics at all. I don't like them. All right, DC, what kind of reboot? 74% want a hard reboot. That's pretty big. Maybe I'll put the poll up on the Twitters and see what everybody says there. 74%. 15% are okay with a soft reboot, whereas 10% says I trust James Gunn's vision. 74 is pretty overwhelming. I mean, I really think that this is going to come back and haunt them. The Wonder Woman score was pretty good, Greg Lazaro, but if you have it play and Wonder Woman doesn't show up, that's going to be a real problem. All right, let's move on to the next story. Okay, that was fun. All right, next story of the day. Hold on. Here we come. Here we go. Hold on. Story number 2. Boop. Ooh, this is getting juicy with the strike, boy. It's getting real interesting. So, yes, the strike is continuing, right? It's only been about, 2 weeks that the actors have been on strike. But it seems like forever because they really shut down Hollywood. So Fran Drescher went on the Today Show the other day and really scared the crap out of the Producers Association because she said, we are financially prepared for 6 months. We can hold out for 6 months. Remember, the producers were like, we're going to hold these guys' feet to the fire and we're going to wait for them to start losing their homes, and then they'll be forced back to the negotiating table. And Fran Drescher said, nice try. We can support ourselves for 6 months, which would take them into 2024, which is real bad. So some actors just donated a bunch of money to allow this to happen. So these actors, here's the list that was published today, and more. They got up to $15 million. These people donate $1 million each to support their fellow actors. And remember, I told you that the SAG will give out payments of anywhere from $1,000 to $6,000 for you to pay for medical expenses, to cover your rent, so that you can continue to strike. So you can see they list it like charity work, where couples will put their names together because it's from their household. So George and Amal Clooney, Luciana and Matt Damon, Leonardo DiCaprio, forever single, Hugh Jackman and Deborah Lee Furness. Deborah Lee seems like a typo, but that's how she spells it, I guess. Dwayne Johnson, he's like, I did it first, you jerks. Why am I bottom of the list? Although this seems to be alphabetical. Nicole Kidman. Why isn't her husband listed? Maybe because he's not an actor, but whatever. Neither is Matt Damon's wife. All right, so anyway, Nicole Kidman, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, both Deadpool and Wolverine did it. Julia Roberts, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I got to tell you, you would think you could never come back from knocking up, a woman that worked for your family, who lived in house with your family, right under your family's nose. I mean, that was pretty bad. But he's actually someone managed to do it because he just never gave up. And also, I think people are so eager for a conservative who seems like more reasonable that that's one of the reasons it's worked. So yeah, he got back in there. So Arnold Schwarzenegger, he just never gave up. So Arnold Schwarzenegger, Meryl Streep, and Oprah Winfrey. Then I thought it was hilarious that look at this. Seth MacFarlane gave $1 million as well the other day, and he didn't even make it onto the list. I'm like, are you kidding me? I will say, Christina, that Fran Drescher does have Wonder Woman level hair. She looks amazing. Every time she's out, I'm like, you look amazing, Fran. All right, so anyway, yeah, Seth MacFarlane donates $1 million. I mean, he is a voice actor. I just don't understand why he's not on this list. I think that was a real slap in the face for his $1 million donation because everybody was looking at this list today and his name wasn't on it. So I was like, what a jerky thing to do. All right, so SAG was like, we're set. We're hunkered down. We're not giving in. So what is the AMPTP? That's the worst acronym. The AMPTP to do. I'll tell you what they decided to do. Here it comes. They reached out to the WGA and said, let's talk. That's hilarious to me. So that guy there is Fran's co-leader, like Duncan Crabtree something, Duncan Crabtree Ireland. And he is the co-negotiator with Fran Drescher. So the producers said, we thought the writers were going to be an expensive deal to settle. It seems like the actors are going to be even more so. So they've gone past the SAG and they went to the WGA and they said, let's start talking on Friday. So that's what's going to happen on Friday. They're going to start to outline negotiations and I think probably feel each other out as to how far both sides are willing to go. Like if this is just to save face, I don't think the WGA will go through with it. The AMPTP, I'm just going to say the studios because it's ridiculous. The studios just have to make it clear that they're willing to negotiate for real the points of contention. So they're like, okay, since the writers are coming up on their 100 days of a strike, 100 days, let's make a deal with them. Now, this is why that's so evil, okay? If they can get the WGA off the board, then only the SAG strike will be holding up business. And that will put tremendous pressure on just the actors. Right now, it's the studios can't get along with anybody, and the directors are sellouts, as Kev pointed out. The directors are sellouts, they're horrible, they stabbed everybody else in the creative community in the back. But if the writers get a deal, then suddenly the actors are the ones holding up everybody's business. So that's real problematic. And SAG right away was like, hey, what about us? Why don't you guys want to talk to us? And the studios have continued to ignore them. So I think that's fascinating. And let's see if they can reach a deal. And also, I guess they feel what SAG wants is even worse than what the writers want, because that'll put pressure on SAG to accept. I mean, whoever goes first between SAG and WGA will get the better deal, because closing their deal will put pressure on the other organization. So it's pretty amazing. Juan says, SAG didn't strike as soon as the WGA struck. That's true, but the SAG strike has been more detrimental. So I think you would side, that's right, Wade, Napoleon tactics, divide and conquer. So I think they feel the SAG deal will cost them even more. Also, the SAG strike has proven to be far more effective, which is interesting because they're actors. SAG is better at getting press attention because they have all the big stars, right? The people know more. They've truly shut everything down. It's weird that the actors are better at communicating their message than the writers. You're like, why aren't you guys writing better dialogue for yourselves? But I guess a lot of it is who delivers it. Also, Fran Drescher is a real dynamo. And Fran Drescher, I think maybe the fact is that she doesn't work very much. She's willing to really go for the jugular, right? Like Fran Drescher, her career's done. She's also set financially for the rest of her life, thanks to the nanny. She's a very wealthy woman who never needs to work again and doesn't really work. So she can really go for what's most beneficial for Fran Drescher is to do an amazing job with this strike, because maybe she has political aspirations. Maybe she has business aspirations. By the way, talk about failing upward. Do you remember Ann Sarnoff? I saw this headline the other day and I couldn't believe it. Ann Sarnoff was the person who was running briefly Warner Brothers, the Warner Brothers studio. Jason Kilar ran all of Warner Brothers, like the whole company, but Ann Sarnoff ran the studio, right? And she got fired. However, Regal and Cinemark, which are coming out of bankruptcy, just put her on the board. I was like, how did Ann Sarnoff get on the board of anything when she just ran Warner Brothers into the ground and did absolutely nothing with her tenure? That was just incredible to me. She must have connections when they feel like she can get people in the room or something. Because again, it's very much political. But yeah, so anyway, I think that this is that speech alone has raised Fran Drescher, and she's getting to go on all the talk shows. She was on the Today Show. And that's another reason that Fran's not going to get a bad deal. So they can try and strong arm her all they like, but Fran has to make sure she gets a good deal. Because Fran, I think, wants to build on this, either business-wise or politically, or maybe both. But she could really do something incredible with this. This is a big moment for her. But anyway, we'll see what happens. But it was a pretty devious move for them to go for the WGA, although all my writer friends might win out for this. And SAG could be in a very difficult situation in just a couple of weeks if they're left as the only striking union. If SAG is the only striking union, the Teamsters are going to come for them with a vengeance. That's going to be crazy. The Teamsters are going to be like really upset. All right, does anybody have any questions about the strikes before we go to the third story of the day? That's right, Ved. Will got it right. The Today Show is a news program. So that's why news shows can continue. Look at Visionary trying to fast forward us. No. Let's just see if anybody has any questions for a moment. Aubrey Small says, do you think this could get resolved realistically this fall? I think the fact that they've already reached out to the WGA means that, yes, maybe it could. I think they could resolve the writers by Labor Day and maybe the actors by October. I think it'll be resolved by the end of the year, at the rate, hopefully. I mean, unless the Writers Guild goes, it was a trick. They had nothing for us. It was so bad. Maybe that could be what it is. Juan says, are the studios really afraid? Well, I'll tell you what the studios are nervous about. Somebody pointed out to me today, I was talking to someone about this, and they pointed out that they saw somebody at the studios talking about the fact that they have nothing to do over there, and that they're worried there might be some executive layoffs. And I thought that was interesting. But I think the real issue is lack of content. Soon they're going to not have enough content to keep feeding the machine, which is theatrical and streaming. So I think they're worried about that. And then, of course, the bottom line, which is the stock price. So they really don't want to create a situation here where their stock starts to go down, because that's obvious. You know, a very unfortunate but real truth of the matter is that the real job of any company that has shareholders is to make money for those shareholders. And so that's why you get such big bonuses for CEOs, because their job is to make money for the shareholders. That's a really bleak outlook on society and capitalism. But and I'm pro-capitalism, but even I'm disgusted by that. But yet I do believe that it's true. I'm a big fan of looking stuff in the eye and acknowledging what the truth is, even if you don't like it. I think that's an important quality to have. So I think that's disgusting, but I think it's also true. Alex says, what is your take on Stephen Amell's comments? I talked about this yesterday, and I feel he's scabbing it up, and I feel that he should be suspended from SAG for 6 months to a year whenever they resume their work. Devin Henderson said, have you seen Bethany Frankel calling for reality show union? I don't think that'll ever happen, Devin, because first of all, you make very little money being on reality TV. The way that you make money on reality TV is with the opportunities you can get out of being on the show. So a lot of brand deals, I'll start your own product line. You know, Bethany Frankel doesn't make money from reality TV. She makes money from the company she was able to start and which she advertises through being on reality TV. So that's where the real money for that comes from. Let's see here. Pork Chop Polly, what a name, says, hey, 18-month milestone, Grace. Thanks for always making my day. My anxiety virtually disappears when watching. What a nice thing to say. I'm so glad that's the case. Thank you for such a nice comment, Pork Chop. Let's see here. Hey, Sarah. Let's see. Emmett Wright says, Grace, the Stream 7 news is official, just announced by THR. Thank you. Christopher Landon, right? All right, that's great news. I think he's a great choice. We'll move to that in just a second. Jordan says, this will really hurt the theaters. I think it could. We're not quite there yet, but I think it could. Hey, Jerome. And then Dwight Baldwin says, thoughts on Kevin Smith attending Comic-Con? He's WGA and SAG. To me, I don't think was he promoting anything? I think he could arguably say he's SAG, but not really. While Kevin Smith has acted, I would not categorize Kevin Smith as an actor. I would actually say more than anything, he's a director. So he has a deal. And I think as long as he wasn't promoting a specific project, to me, that seems fine. I think that's okay. And Cosmix feels that he was only hosting. All right, it's been officially confirmed. So let's get to that story, and then we'll open it up to Ask Me Anything. Story number 3. Boom, baby. Lewis, there's no movement on a VFX union, which is a real shame. There is movement on an animation union, though, so we'll see if that happens. All these groups need to be unionized. But VFX really needs to be for sure. Ragu, I'm so glad I can help you with your anxiety as well. Oh, yay. All right. Boom, baby. Third story of the day. Just confirmed. Christopher Landon, that's him there with Jason Blum, is directing Scream 7. Now, the last two Scream movies were directed by the directing duo named Radio Silence. And they, again, did Scream 5 and 6. But unfortunately, Universal lured them away. Scream is a Paramount franchise. Universal lured them away for a mystery monster movie. And they said, yoink! They took Melissa Barrera with them, who, of course, is the new Sydney of their Scream movies. That's not to say she couldn't do Scream 7, but they took her along with them. So they couldn't do another Scream. They want to get these Scream things out right away. And I would agree that Radio Silence did a fantastic job with their Scream entries. Although I don't think they did such a good job that I insisted they would do a 7th, quite frankly. I feel they did 2 really good ones, and I'm ready for somebody else to come in and give a new twist. So let's talk about Christopher Landon, the pluses and the minuses. So as Future Movie Actor just pointed out, the Happy Death Day movies were great. I would not say that Freaky was good. I thought Freaky was weak, quite frankly. So while I liked Happy Death Day, and it was a very funny movie, which also really works for Scream, I thought that Freaky, which was the Vince Vaughn as a serial killer, like Freaky Friday horror movie, and then also, I don't know if you saw the Netflix movie We Have a Ghost. Did I even watch that? The trailer looked really bad. Yeah, I don't even think I watched it. That looked really weak to me, and that was also directed by Christopher Landon. So those make me very nervous. And David just pointed out that the second Happy Death Day wasn't good either. So in my opinion, Christopher Landon is very uneven. So that makes me a little bit nervous. So the good thing, though, is that he is openly LGBT. And Scream has developed more than I think any other horror franchise, although I think the LGBT community is very supportive of horror overall, but really big fans of Scream. And so that kind of representation and correlation with the people making the movie, with the people who like the franchise, I think is fantastic. Mika, that's a good point. American Horror Story as well. That's a good one. So that's a good point. So I think that, I really liked what they did. That's right, Edge. Mindy Meeks Martin, played by Jasmine Savoy Brown, the two twins, is a fantastic person that they've added to the movies. And so I would love to see that stuff added and, really continue to do stuff with Mindy. And I think having a director from the community, I think only will strengthen that bond. So I think it's good. I think it works out. I think in that regard, he's a great choice. However, I am worried that I think a lot of his recent movies were not good. George Alexander says, we can open this up to questions, because I don't have that much to say about it, besides I think it's a good idea. George Alexander says he recently just followed Matthew Lillard, too. I pray that Stu is not coming back. The only saving grace is that they'd have to bring Nev back. Oh, no, I think Stu has to come back. I disagree, especially after I saw Matthew Lillard in the Five Nights at Freddy's trailer. I was like, that guy's got to come back. And Sydney Sweeney for opening kill. That's an interesting idea, although I think she might have hurt her career. I don't know if she ever really came back from those family photos that she posted. Future Movie Actor says, I have an idea for Scream movie showing what Sydney had to deal with during 6. That could be fun. That's pretty cool. Although I would never get too wrapped up in pitching franchises that aren't yours, because it's going to be very hard for you to get into them. You're better off, if you genuinely want to get into the business, working on original ideas. Because it's just much more likely that you'll be able to make them happen. Let's see here. That's a good point, Hannibal Gaming. Let's see here. Caroline, I didn't see Sydney Sweeney's HBO movie, but I'm glad that you liked it. Dana O'Leary says Margot Robbie will be Scream 7's Drew Barrymore. No, I think she's too big for that. You have to find just the right level of stardom. I think she's a little too big for that right now. Elliot, I would not put Catherine Newton in Scream 7. I mean, I'm sorry that you like that idea. I'm glad your dad and I agree, Future Movie Actor. But anyway, Catherine Newton did such a bad job in Quantumania that I wouldn't put her anywhere near anything at this point. That's funny, Haunted Autumn. This Barbie is a ghost face. That's hilarious. That would be great. You could put You put ghost face and you say, is this a Barbie or a Ken? I love it. Or both for the LGBT community. I haven't heard anything about Jenna Ortega, Poke. I don't know what the movie Scream 7 is going to be about. Hey, Babette. I like your name. Rodney says apparently Drew Barrymore also wants to return to Scream. I'm all for it. I'd love Drew Barrymore to return, quite frankly. I love bringing people back. I think it's a lot of fun. I also want that guy from She-Hulk. He was great. Chad is the new Dewey. That's the brother, right? Chad? No, I don't know if he's the new Dewey. But I like him a lot. The Brendan V says, why can't they just wait for Radio Silence to finish the Universal Monster movie before starting Scream 7? No, that's too long, Brendan V. It's just too long. Pug, yeah, that's right. I love Pug. He was great. I was like, this was a great idea. B Weeb, you want a poll on Stu's return? All right, sure. Should Stu return in Scream 7? Yes. Oh, no, we'll do. I have to do fun things. It needs to happen. That's my vote. We'll do Over My Dead Body. Which is perfect for Scream. And then depends how it's done. Always the non-committal option. Stu doesn't have to be dead. They've had plenty of characters that were supposed to be dead who came back. Mr. Long Monkey, you don't care about Stu. What? What kind of Scream fan are you? Elliot says Stu got slammed by a giant 90s TV in the face. Maybe he has a really messed up face like Jigsaw. Everybody wants to come back. Oh, hey, fellow Randolph G. I remember I told you, I checked, that's Randolph G's real name. Miguel Labrador says, when you have fun, we have fun watching Grace. Ah, that's very sweet, Miguel. Hey, Gilberto, I'm glad you caught a live stream. All right, Babette, you want the Q&A? All right, let's see what the poll is, then we'll go to the open Q&A. All right, so we ended the poll. 45% say depends how it's done. 34% say it needs to happen. And only 19% say Over My Dead Body. So I think he's coming back. And I'm glad to see that it would not be that bad. All right, let's do the Q&A. Thanks, Andrew. I love you too. Let's see here. All right, let's go here. Hold on. Let me say the Q&A. You guys are already jumping in on it. I love it. Love your enthusiasm. Emmett says, Kyle Richards for Scream 7 Open and Kill. No way! Kyle Richards is in the Halloween franchise. All right, so Mika says, if Netflix and other studios didn't give streaming data, doesn't that help most writers? Not every show is as successful as Stranger Things. Why would writers want to know their show flopped? Well, Mika, I would agree with that, but on the other hand, they don't have to make the data public. They just, want to be able to check how well their show did. Andrew says, who would you cast as Emma Frost in the MCU? That's really hard. I liked the idea of Rosamund Pike once upon a time, but I feel she might have aged out of the role. That's very nice of you to say, Dane. But I think that, I like the Rosamund Pike idea when Gone Girl came out, but I don't know if she could do it anymore. Edge wants January Jones back. What? That's craziness. Andrew Dunn says, have you heard anything on when we might get a Snow White trailer? I'm glad you're enjoying the love streams, and that's a cute use of the apple emoji. I have not heard anything about a Snow White teaser, but it's not till next year, so it maybe would be, around the holidays. Maybe with the Marvels. Thanks, Rodney. Let's see here. Sean says, thoughts on the Matt Smith rumor, Crown reunion. This Matt Smith rumor for Fantastic Four. Here's the deal. I love Matt Smith. I think he's fantastic. But I don't think he's great casting. I think it's too obvious, to be honest with you, as Mr. Fantastic. He's already on House of the Dragon. I would much prefer they did somebody like Penn Badgley or Glenn Howerton after seeing him in Blackberry. I just think that's much more interesting, and I think it's more someone who can make the role their own and become Mr. Fantastic rather than, hey, look, it's Matt Smith doing something again. Now he's in Marvel. I don't like the idea. Josh Loves Movie says, thoughts on Emma Corrin as the villain in Deadpool 3. I'm excited about it because I really trust Ryan Reynolds, particularly when it comes to Deadpool. Vinny from Bina says, animation needs a union. I have friends that work in the animation industry. Many people are struggling because they can't get better deals. Great artists are being paid subpar wages. It is really unfortunate, Vinny, and they have no negotiating power. So I totally believe that they should have a union. Enrique says, do you really think Snow White will be the worst Disney live action? I was surprised to hear that Greta Gerwig co-wrote the script. All right, let's see who wrote it with her. Let's see, hold on. One second. Screenplay by Greta Gerwig and Aaron Cressida Wilson. That's where it's going to mess up. She wrote, The Girl on the Train, awful. Secretary, which was that kinky thing with James Spader and Maggie Gyllenhaal. Fur, an imaginary portrait of Diane Arbus. Chloe, which was very bizarre. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I know who's going to mess up that movie. It's Aaron Cressida Wilson. So I don't have any faith in that. I don't think Greta Gerwig would ever have done that version of The Seven Dwarfs. David, why isn't your super chat working? Lord Baratheon. So nice to see you again, Lord Baratheon. Thoughts on Loki Season 2 having the largest trailer debut for a Disney Plus show? Did it, though? I'll let them enjoy their headline, but they have no way to prove that that happened. And I've seen some people point out that if you promote the trailer, it will play with autoplay. I think Elon Musk fudges things now in an effort to get good headlines and to make people use the Twitter platform. And I looked at the Loki trailer on YouTube, and last I checked, it had 9 million views, maybe 10 or 11 at this point, which is a far cry from 80 million. So I don't know how they get that number. So I would love for that to be true. I would love for that to be true. I think the show looks phenomenal. I loved that trailer. But I'm just telling you, I still stand by a real lack of excitement for that trailer. At the bottom line, I will say, even if that number is true, a lot of people watched it, but they weren't enthusiastic about it. And they didn't want to continue talking about it. They watched it and then they walked away. And that's not good. Catalin, I don't know if I'm going to review Heartstopper Season 2. Unfortunately, there was very little interest in the trailer. And so for things that don't have enough of an interest, it's hard for me to cover them. Jake Van Noren says, is it true Aubrey Plaza is playing an original character and was married to Agatha in the past, along with Nicholas Scratch being their son? I can't say it's not true, but I have not heard that at all. Hey, Michael, you're so generous today. First Green Gem Super Chat. Outside of Matt Smith, any tea on new contenders in Fantastic Four? No, I have not heard anything about that recently. Let's see here. Sana, you're baking cookies while you watch. I love it. Jordan says, how would you get the MCU back on track? I would focus much more on the writers. I would go back to telling a story that was connected. I would really whittle down the Disney Plus shows, and I would make them 8 to 10 episodes. I would insist that creative talent behind the scenes read the comics based on what the stories they were going to be telling. And I would focus more, just on, structure. I think that's really crucial. And I would really investigate my actors more before I hired them. Lewis Berry says they did it with Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future, and Warner Brothers have 4 months in the money reshoot Mira's scenes in Aquaman 2 with Deborah Ann Wool. I don't think they're going to do that. I think because some people believe that Amber Heard was the one who was wronged. So to take a woman who had to suffer domestic abuse out of a movie, I think they should just cut the role down to make it as small as possible, which they heard that they did. Oh, future movie actor. Oh, I'm glad you had a birthday yesterday. And I hope you have a fun party on Sunday with your family. Babette says, what do you think of Branagh's new Haunting in Venice trailer? Will you review the film in September? I will definitely review the film, but I haven't watched the trailer because I thought they only needed one for that. And I thought it was a very good first trailer. But it looked pretty atmospheric to me. I thought it looked good. Zay says, hey Grace, would you give my good friend Julian a shout out? He's feeling down. We both watch and love your videos. Of course I will, Zay. Hey Julian. There's always a happy, brighter, future around the corner. Just make sure, stay realistic, but also stay positive. That's a crucial balance in life. Positive, but also realistic. You don't want to be too positive, because then you'll be real sad when it doesn't pan out. Jason says, don't know what the C.S. Lewis estate is doing letting Gerwig near Narnia. Narnia is probably the most important Christian fiction. It's very conservative. Was that true with the Narnia movies that came out? It didn't seem that conservative to me. Greta Gerwig is not an idiot, so I'm sure that she will understand. Let's see. I like Greta Gerwig. I think she's very smart. And hopefully someone points that out to her. I mean, is she on social media? You should politely point that out to her. Don't be mean. Don't be like, I hope you don't ruin Narnia. Just be like, oh, you're so smart, Greta, and you have such great ideas, and I love how you incorporated message into Barbie. I'm curious to see how you'll incorporate the Christian themes into Narnia because they're so important to the fandom. Something like that. You see how you do it in a positive way? That's how you're supposed to do it. Rod, you don't have to do that when you're not talking to the person directly, but if you're talking to the person directly, that's how you should handle it. Rodney says, hey Grace, Barbie surpassed Wonder Woman box office. Could Frozen and Captain Marvel box office be next? I think it's very possible. I'm very excited to cover Barbie on Movie Math on Sunday. Oh, Raphael, Charlize Theron is a great Emma Frost idea. I wonder if she could do a British accent. Well, she's an Oscar-winning actress. I'm sure she could. I like that idea. Let's see here. I saw some more questions. I'm catching up. Kate, I'm like you, Glenn. I'm so glad you like Glenn Howerton as well. Salvador, Adam Driver has been reported as dropping out. He's definitely not Reed Richards. Let's see here. Steven says, when it comes to Secret Invasion, do you know what was reshot during those 4 months that jumped the budget over $200 million? I'm afraid I do not. Nick Warner says, when can we expect a trailer for Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon? It's August, and it comes out in December, and we still don't have a trailer. Well, maybe they're deciding, maybe they're not going to release it necessarily in December because the actors can't promote it. And, Zack, I think that it would be difficult for him to, he's a promotion machine all on his own, but I'm sure he would like to be able to have his cast promote as well. Let's see here. Nilfinity, I don't do my comic book channel anymore because I decided that it was hard for me to follow the comic book industry and the movie industry at the same time with the same depth. And so I felt that I would rather just focus on Hollywood. So that's why I don't do comic book videos anymore. AFU, congrats on your first super chat. It looks good on you. Grace, does Warner Brothers have a say in the Mortal Kombat roster? Twitter is scared they will leave Jade out in the new game, even though she's in the MK2 movie. Well, don't they have more characters to reveal? I would be surprised. I don't know. I haven't heard any tea about that. I would think that Jade is such a popular character. I've seen such great cosplay of her, and I felt that her look in the last MK11, was phenomenal. And then, of course, she's not only in the new movie, but I love the actress Tati Gabriel, who's playing her. So I imagine that, maybe if she's not on the roster, she could always be in a DLC pack, maybe timed to the movie's release. We saw that from the Homelander coming out in spring 2024, that the DLCs are going to go for a very long time to support the game. So that could definitely be the case. Although who knows when MK2 is coming out, now that they just have the strikes and the movie had to be put on hold. Let's see here. Good morning, 50 pence. It's 6:30 in the morning in Australia. I love it. You just got up. That's okay. Celestine says, I can't help but be scared for Deadpool after Disney ruined Daredevil. I will never forgive you, Disney. I like your emoji use, Celestine. I think the difference is that Ryan Reynolds knows that he has a responsibility and he's very much a businessman, whereas I think that Charlie Cox is just grateful to be employed. So I think that's the difference. If somebody has the power to fight for their character and the disposition. Because Charlie Cox isn't a producer. Charlie Cox isn't a businessman. He's just an actor. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it puts him in a different mental state than Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds is more like Tom Hiddleston. And that's also very much benefiting the Loki character. So I think that's a big part of the difference. Yes, Poke, I have the X app for Twitter, and I don't care for it. Oh, Brett, I was so happy to support your GoFundMe. I hope your mother's doing well. Are the recent Aquaman 2 reshoots true? Should they just Batgirl it? I think it's even more expensive. I don't know. I think they shouldn't push it. That movie better come out in December. Look, MacGuffin has a first live chat as well. I forgot what the 10-minute mark was. We'll be wrapping up with questions soon. Let's see here. Where'd it go? Ooh, a lot of questions today. I love it. Oh, Ivan, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Jonathan, thank you for gifting 10 memberships. Gabe, thank you for gifting 1 membership. That's a funny photo of you. There it is. MacGuffin Production says, hi, Grace. Do you like animation writing comic tips? You mean, do I want tips for animation and writing, or do I have tips for writing for those things? I'm not sure what your question is. I'm sorry to say. I don't have any tips. I do have tips. Try DMing me, MacGuffin, because I'm not sure what your exact question is. Al says, Grace, why doesn't Disney just drop Snow White on Disney Plus if it's not going to perform well? Well, Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot with songs by Pasek and Paul, they're not going to put that on Disney Plus. Jacob C. says, hi, Grace. Will Finn and Poe be back for the Rey Star Wars movie? I would love that to be the case. I would love it. But part of me also would just like Rey finally to have the chance to stand on her own and get a true story and not have to have all these supporting characters. I just want Rey to have one good movie where she gets to really do a great job. Lord Baratheon says, did you have any tea for Daredevil before the strikes happened? I told you it was very episodic and that Daredevil and Kingpin had separate storylines that weren't connected until maybe the end of the season. But it was very legal case of the week. I think it was being structured so that it could play on network TV if it needed to, which I think makes me throw up a little bit, but let's see. Dane O'Leary, Aubrey Plaza is not playing Morgan Le Fay. Remember when they said that it was a character everybody would know and it would be exciting? From what I heard, that's not true. So I don't know why they said that, because it just threw everybody off. Uncle Baby Billy says, Anthony Starr for Mr. Fantastic. Anthony Starr, of course, is the actor who plays Homelander. I think he would just seem like he was being Homelander. I think that's a little bit of the difficulty for Anthony Starr, who I think is brilliant as Homelander. But I think now he's very much associated with that character. I think he needs to find a role where he gets to do a little something different. Although everybody just wants to see him do Homelander, quite frankly. Owl Watch says Deputy Hicks should have been a girl who was crushing on Stu since they were in theater together, and West should have been... Your question's crazy, Al Watch. I don't know what's going on there. You're so excited. Your words aren't making sense. Let's see. I don't know, Chris. I don't know about a Heartstopper live stream reaction, but I appreciate the suggestion. What happened to Julian? Let me go back and find it. I don't see Julian's comment. Ah, darn it. Well, Julian, whatever's going on with you, I'm very happy for you. I'm looking. I don't see it. But congratulations anyway. Sorry. Okay. Kevin Cisneros says, "Hey Grace, you mentioned this the other day. How about Rogue drains Gaia's powers instead of Captain Marvel?" Yeah, but then Rogue would be too super powered. That would make me nervous. Adrianic says, "Do you think that the Barbarella remake movie will ever be made?" I think probably not, and I think after Barbie, it will probably be significantly retooled. Lord Baratheon says it's true. Whenever the strikes are over, Marvel will do a bunch of rewrites for many of their projects. I sure hope so. I know Kevin Feige hasn't been happy with the scripts, although recently Kevin Feige's been admitting to a lot of really bad ideas that were apparently his, so that makes me nervous. Future movie actor says, "I don't want them cheapening too many past Scream deaths by revealing that they're alive. Kirby was ambiguous, so that was an exception, not the rule." Well, I think if it's like so long, like Stu hasn't been back since the first movie, I think it's fine. Katie Laney says, "I'm excited for Aquaman 2. I don't really care for the disgusting behavior by some people towards Amber Heard, I guess you mean. They can thank Depp for that BS they should release now?" Well, see, yes, as you can see, Katie Lady agrees. She's on Team Amber, and there are Team Amber people, and that's important. I'm glad you got a membership, Art of CU. Let's see here. FM Sorcerer says, "DC is a continuous cycle of failure, and I don't even think a good Superman legacy will be enough to save them at the box office." Honest opinion. It might be true. A Superman legacy would have to be real good. Ivan says, "Do you think that even if the Marvels is fun and somewhat good, the haters could destroy this movie?" I think the trailer looks fun, and I'm worried the haters will damage the Marvel party. Well, I'll tell you the truth. I don't think the Marvels looks as strong as Barbie. If the Marvels was as strong as Barbie, then I think maybe it would be able to be okay. But I think it's going to be weak, and I think that's going to be a problem. I'll watch as my birthday is next month, and just like the past 3 years, I won't be having a birthday cake, but instead a birthday strawberry. I thought your story was sad at first, but it has a happy twist ending. A strawberry cheesecake. Well, thank you for sharing that, Al Watch. I love creative birthday cakes. Mark Acosta says, "I'm sad to hear there wasn't excitement for Heartstopper. I was really looking forward to it." Yeah, I'm not quite sure. The trailer didn't trend. I was surprised. Sana says, "Grace, I've always wondered if you like South Park." I don't watch it, Sana, but I do find it amusing, and I've always enjoyed when clips will come out. I'm always like, that's pretty funny. I don't have any new Thunderbolts, T-Ved. Not at the moment. Quinn says, "How do you feel about the Lizzo situation?" Well, obviously, Quinn, I think if that behavior is true, it's horrible. And it's a real shame that it happened. I don't understand why anybody thinks they could be abusive to someone. I think that's really surprising. AK Channel TV says, "Weren't there behind-the-scenes shots of Superman costumes in the Batman? I wonder why Reeves changed his mind on including Superman." Well, he was never going to include Superman. They were just Halloween costumes that characters were wearing for Halloween, but it just proved that those people already existed in that world. But Reeves, I don't know if it was helpful at this point, but he could introduce his own Superman. Danny, I'm sorry you missed the live stream, but I'm glad you can join for a little bit. Ved, it's 2 a.m. where you are. I love it. All right, on that note, Vexum is also Team Amber. All right, so let's do a poll on that, I guess, while we do shout-outs. Where are you on Amber Heard and Johnny Depp? Team Depp, Team Amber, not picking a side. And then the fourth option will be tired of both. Yikes, that would be the worst option. Bye to those who are leaving. Bye. All right, so the Q&A is over, and while people vote, let's do shout-outs. Okay? Bye, Chris. Okay, so shout-outs means whatever you're up to, just so I can say hi to you. What are you doing? Where are you? What's going on with you? Just so I can say hi. Rodney Dollar says, just chilling and listening to the Barbie soundtrack for the 9th and 10th time. It's so good. I do that too, Rodney, although unfortunately, now Lizzo's on the soundtrack, and that kind of messed that song up a little bit. But I'm still enjoying it. Cosmic saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles last night with a best friend and had a lot of fun. Isn't it good? Wasn't it so good? I thought that was great. Let's see here. Adrianic says, hi from Puerto Rico, watching Avengers Endgame. Love it. While Jander is recovering from tooth surgery in Rio, Brazil. Well, what a place to recover. Sean Turner says, got my first actor's headshots done today in London. Oh, that's a special time. I hope you like how they turned out. That's fantastic. I'm sure you had a good time with the shoot. Remember, when you're an actor, an important thing to do is to focus on the audition, not getting the role, because that's what you really should be focusing on, and you never know what role you're going to get or not get. You know, a lot of famous actors have been up for one franchise to lose it, only to then get a better franchise months or sometimes even years later. Jewel Rodriguez says, I saw Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny last night and loved it. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm glad you had a good time. Linda Jordan says, cleaning my living room while watching. Happy to keep you company, Linda. Michael McKenna says, heading to a Cubs game at Wrigley Field, summer in Chicago. That sounds lovely. Ved Save says, staying up at 2 a.m. to watch you while listening to Ryan Gosling, We're All Just Ken. I love that song. I listen to that all the time as well. Heather S. is working in Raleigh. Not Modern Painter says, I'm back. Was a member for several years but fell off and got a free membership today. Hooray indeed. Nina Fair says, taking a break. Good for you. Alberto says, about to make some fish tacos, while Teresa is making spaghetti for dinner. Oh, I love it. Rodney Dollar says, oh, that's great to hear, Grace. And yeah, Lizzo is the first on the soundtrack. Yep, right away. You're like, oh no. El Al says, just ate a delicious falafel like always here in Tel Aviv. Oh, I love talking to you guys across the globe. Oh, let's see here. Oh, Lisa's cheering on the Cubs. I love it. Dane O'Leary says, finishing up my work day, about to make potato burritos. Potato burritos? And then pack up for my trip to the Mayan Riviera on Friday. Wow, Dane, your summer is popping. Ivan Sarmiento says, hi, Grace. I'm very excited with my first month on my new job at Fox. Oh, hooray. Also planning to see the Meg 2 later today. I really enjoyed the first one. Oh, great day planned. I'm glad your new job's working out. Ragu says, having some wine and being annoyed that my local cinema isn't getting the Turtles movie because there isn't space for it. Oh, that is annoying. I hope you seek it out elsewhere because it's so good. Danny says, hi, Grace. Greetings and love. Working from home. Taking a break for a moment. Oh, I love it. Well, Vexum is also working from home, but is behind schedule. Sorry to hold you up, but I'm glad you're with us. Well, Justin Olivieri says, hi, Grace, fixing a hole in the wall with my husband that our cats made. You got some strong cats, Justin, that they're punching holes in the wall. That'd be hilarious, like little tiny fists in the wall, like Adam Driver in Marriage Story. That's hilarious. I love it. That's so funny. Lawson Homer says, tuning in. You should record one of them and put it on Twitter. You'd do great. Lawson Horner says, tuning in from the beach. Just got here, so we're rewinding to the beginning. Watching the live stream on the beach. That's pretty nice. Katie Lady says, still doesn't deserve the hate. I don't know what you're talking about, Katie Lady. But I appreciate the comment, as always. David Cuvito says, we lost power in the office. Now finishing the day from home and watching the stream without concerns on my TV while working. Sweet freedom, David. But Tillman is still stuck in the office where they have full power for him. I'm sorry, Tillman. And Alwyn says, playing Final Fantasy 16 while listening to you, Queen. Let's see here. And Lisa says to the person at the beach, is your job beach like Ken? That's very funny. Well, just Josh says that his cat is a perfect princess most of the time. You guys are great. All right, I had a really good time with you as always. Thank you for attending today's live stream. There will be one more live stream this week, and it shall be tomorrow. So if there are no big stories, we might do something a little different. But if there are big stories, we'll, of course, talk about those. All right, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for joining if you're a member. If you're not a member, I still am so happy that you joined in and you participated in the way that you could. Maybe someday you'll become a member. Maybe someday you'll get a gifted membership. You never know, but I'm still glad that you were part of today's live stream. All right, see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye. Oh, wait, the poll. Thanks, Mika. Whew. 38% only are Team Depp. That doesn't bode well for his Pirates of the Caribbean future. Well, 29% are tired of both. 16% don't want to choose a side, and 16% are Team Amber. Yeah, that's a real mess. I can see why Hollywood doesn't want to get involved in that situation. Toodles, Ricky Richie. I love to say toodles. Toodles. All right, bye, everybody. Bye.